they're rattled by him, and for good reason, because a lot of the proposals that he's made display either ignorance of world affairs or a cavalier attitude.
He is a man who shouldn't be really, airing his difficulties, and he shouldn't be airing what he's airing where he is right now. And I think that you're going to see it stop pretty soon.
All right, enter Karl Rove, the former Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush, one of the smartest political minds I know. And, well, you have your differences with Donald Trump, Karl, on a variety of issues. You don't go hopping off to Asia to spout them. And I think your premise is nor should a sitting President of the United States, right?
I agree. I just think it was unseemly. First of all, remember what he said? He said ignorance of world affairs and cavalier attitude. Well, President Obama, with all due respect, what kind of ignorance of world affairs did you demonstrate when you withdrew our troops from Iraq and gave up the hard-won victory there, and are trying to do the same thing in Afghanistan after Iraq went south when you did it there? And talk about a cavalier attitude. Aren't you the guy who said if they use gas and chemical weapons in Syria, that's a red line for us, and then ignored it when they did? I mean, I thought it was very revealing that the president chose those two phrases in order to launch a highly partisan attack on the Republican presumptive nominee for president while he, the president, was on foreign soil. He should have said, you know what, plenty of time for politics. I strongly support the nominee of my party, but we're not here to talk about American politics today. I thought it was unseemly.
And, to more or less say when he was grouping on leaders, they're concerned, and they have good reason to be, you're taking their side. Now, of course, there were a lot of foreign leaders who, early on, when Barack Obama was running for president, who was young and untested, had been senator for like a nanosecond, and then they had legitimate concerns. So he was in that kind of position 8 years ago himself. It just strikes me as odd, and it strikes me as odd as doing so on foreign soil. And I always say this is beyond politics. I remember your old boss, President Bush, when there were those, when he was traveling abroad, who was trying to get him to respond to some zingers by John Kerry, he refused to do so.
Right. So
I don't know whether it's an unwritten rule or people have broken the rule, but there is that kind of decorum that comes with an office that President Obama seems to think, Donald Trump is ill-equipped for.
Yeah. Well, and do you think the foreign leaders that President Obama has recently met with like him going out and speaking on their behalf? Do you think they like him going out there and attributing to them as a group his opinions? I bet they don't. Look, I've been abroad. You've been abroad. You talk about concerns. I've met with some of our great allies and some leaders in countries that are our staunch friends. And boy, they'll raise doubts about this president. And what he has done and how he has proved himself to be a feckless leader and an unreliable ally. And again, I just thought this was unusual. I should, I guess, welcome it, because the more President Obama intrudes into the presidential race, the more people will realize this is about whether or not we should validate his legacy and give him, in essence, a third term by electing Hillary Clinton. But I thought it was unseemly and inappropriate.
It's like he's a little obsessed with Trump, and maybe just the whole phenomenon. A lot of people are looking at this, but what do you think?
I think he has an unnatural fascination with the election. I get the sense that he's sort of, other than writing executive orders, he's given up trying to get things done with Congress in a constructive fashion. They're working on constructive things without his active involvement. He's become more of a spectator than a participant. And I think he's really focusing increasingly. I saw comments the other day that he made about how much he was looking forward to throwing himself into the fall campaign. This is about him. Everything is about him. The narcissist in him is going to be running wild between now and the election 167 days from now, and he's going to be making the case that the election of Hillary Clinton is about validating his actions, his legacy, and him. And I frankly think as a Republican we ought to welcome that, because I don't think the American people, in a country where 1 out of every 4 Americans thinks we're going in the right direction, and 2 out of every 3 Americans think we're going off on the wrong track, that ain't a good argument to make. Let's keep going where we're going.
All right, good catching up with you, my friend. Be well.
Thank you, Neil. Happy Memorial Day.
To you as well.